It's live on the marketplace. Let's move on to one of our top stories today. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has published its semi-annual report on the management of petroleum revenues for the first half of 2018. This is in fulfillment of Section 556 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, PRMA 2011 Act 815. PIAC, however, says even though Ghana National Gas Company, GNGC, received over $46 million as proceeds from gas revenues, it made no payments to the GNPC in respect of gas supplied, for which no gas receipts were realized or were released into the Petroleum Holding Funds. I've been joined in the studio right now by the technical manager of PIAC, Mark Ajiman, to throw some more light on aspects of the report and for which we really need to interrogate. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the marketplace.
Good afternoon, and thank you for
All right, now, one major concern is the fact that you claim that you did not receive adequate information from the Ministry of Finance well ahead of time for you to include it in this report. What exactly happened?
Thank you. Statutorily, our semi-annual report is supposed to come out on the 15th of September every year, and the annual one comes out on the 15th of March the following year. Okay. So what we usually do is that we have about 11 or 12 reporting institutions that we analyze their data in our report. So we send out, for the semi-annual report, we send out requisition letters
to the various institutions
around July.
Okay.
And give them a month to respond. Some of the institutions have been quite prompt in their response. ENI, for instance, Bank of Ghana, Ghana Gas, Cosmos, Talo, and their likes, and Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. So the Ministry of Finance, we usually request two data. One has to do with revenue, what was realized into the Petroleum Holding Fund for the period. And then one has to do with expenditure, what the monies were used for. So the issue in question, when we sent out the letter, they responded by providing data on revenue without expenditure. So after some verbal interactions with some staff at the ministries, we decided to send a formal letter reminding them of the delay, what the delay is also causing to us for not meeting our statutory deadline.
Couldn't you have obtained this information from the Bank of Ghana alternatively?
When it comes to expenditure, it's solely done by the Ministry of Finance. Right. The budget division of the Ministry of Finance does expenditure on behalf of government.
So what exactly did the Ministry of Finance say or indicate for which there was this delay?
There were no formal response. Even acknowledgement of our letters didn't come.
Okay.
So we met at Parliament because the Finance Committee of Parliament sit on our report. So we met at Parliament to review our 2017 annual report. And Parliament being the institution we are responsible to as an oversight body, we put it before Parliament that this is the challenge we are having with the Ministry of Finance. There, the Chief Director was there, and then a Deputy Finance Minister was there, Honorable Abina Oseyasari. Right. There, they actually promised to release the data to us just after that meeting. We waited for some weeks, the data wasn't forthcoming.
Okay. Let's look at highlights of the report, because I believe the report is a broad one. Now, one point here says, for the first time, the Ghana Stabilization Fund received more than the annual budget funding amount and is the highest since the commencement of petroleum production in Ghana.
That should be good news.
Exactly. I mean, how did it come by?
Usually, the government budget for the annual budget funding amount.
Yes. So if 70% of petroleum receipts go into
after you've taken that of GNPCs.
Okay, sure.
There is 70% of it.
Okay.
So if, say, this year government decides to spend $200 million through the annual budget funding amount, what they do is that they disperse those money in quarterly. So every quarter with 50 million.
Okay, to the ABFA.
To the ABFA. Okay. So the movement is 200 million, and we get more money, excess money. We just put it into the stabilization fund according to the law. Okay. So the excess money, let's say this year we projected that we'll get $800 million from petroleum activities, and the government end up getting $1 billion. That is excess. So after distributing to the ABFA, whatever is left as excess is put into the stabilization fund. And the essence of that fund is to stabilize the economy in terms of unexpected shocks.
What happened to the 30% contribution? Because I know 70% goes into ABFA, 30% is shared between the stabilization fund and the heritage fund.
Yes. So, so the 30% is also, as I said, it's also projected. Okay. So 30% will go to the 30%, 21% goes to the stabilization, and 9% goes to the heritage fund.
Exactly.
So as I said, whatever excess due to unforeseen realize of higher revenues from petroleum activities, that excess goes to the stabilization fund.
Okay, so you had an excess of what from ABFA?
From the ABF, if you look at the distribution to the ABFA and then the heritage, the stabilization fund is in excess of about $200 million.
What's been happening? Because last year also we also had a stabilization fund proceeds not being used or utilized.
Yes.
Some huge amount.
Yeah.
What's happening?
It wasn't actually stabilization. It was the ABFA.
ABFA,
it was about 402 million Ghana cedis.
That's significant.
Yeah, that is huge. We probed the ministry, and their response was that what they decided to do was that they were auditing some contracts to ascertain value for money and other stuff.
Okay.
So upon completion of this audit process, then the money will be utilized. So that money were utilized in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's look at this other point.
But because we didn't get the expenditure report, we couldn't verify whether they were utilized or not.
All right. That's unfortunate.
Yes.
Now, so even though Ghana National Gas Company received over $46 million as proceeds from gas revenues, it made no payment to GNPC, for which there was no onward transmission to the petroleum holding funds. Yeah. What did you find out as that cause? Yeah,
you see, this issue is part of the broader energy sector debt cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, GNPC is the national gas aggregator. They take all the gas and give it to Ghana, GC to process, sell, and then pay them back.
Okay.
And the processed derivatives, we have land gas that we use for power generation and LPG and the likes. Chunk of it goes to VRA. VRA, upon production of gas, ECG doesn't pay VRA. So VRA is unable to pay Ghana Gas for Ghana Gas to pay GNPC. So it's a cycle.
Cycle, exactly.
And as at June 2018, via the total debt to Ghana Gas was around $873 million, out of which about more than 90%.
Even after efforts by government to settle some of these things.
Yes, the ESLA, I know you are talking of the ESLA. Sure. VRA is getting some money from ESLA, and the intent was that since government is cushioning the financial pressure on VRA will have been in the position to pay some of this debt. Okay. But then it's not forthcoming. Ghana Gas is not receiving payment from VRA, and therefore they are not also paying GNPC for GNPC to deposit the money into the Petroleum Holding Fund. Ghana Gas's response was that because VRA is not paying them, they don't have operational funds. So whatever little money they collect through the sale of derivatives, like LPG and condensate, that is what they use to run the operation. Is
it going to undermine receipts into the holding funds, or because we have excess of ABFA coming into the holding funds, is going to actually balance?
It's actually going to, because as I said, by June 2018, what's supposed to come into the holding fund from Ghana Gas is about $275 million. Okay. That money is locked up somewhere. And it's locked up through the indebtedness of VRA to Ghana Gas.
Now, we can go on and on, but we have little time. But let's touch on one major recommendation. You are saying that, the Minister of Finance should provide explanation for the exercise of discretionary capping. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
The law mandates the Minister of Finance to cap the stabilization fund and take whatever excess out over the cap for into either the ABFA or either deposited through the sinking fund or the contingency fund. Currently, the Minister of Finance has capped it around $300 million, with no explanation. It's arbitrary capping. What we are saying that the Ministry of Finance should provide a justifiable reason for capping it at a certain amount. Because whatever excess can go into the ABFA. And don't forget that the stabilization fund, if it is not used, it accrues interest, which comes back to the state. So they should just provide a justifiable reason why they are capping it at a certain amount for all Ghanaians to understand why they are capping it. Because we can wake up one day and the minister will cap it at $1.
Okay.
All right. And take whatever excess out. And also don't forget that the law says that when we exhaust all our petroleum resources, we should merge the Heritage Fund and the Stabilization Fund and call it the Ghana Sovereign Wealth Fund. So we should be mindful of how much is always at the stabilization at any given point. We should be very mindful. Because, as I said, what if they wake up and cap it at $1?
Okay. So what are you going to do now that this report is out and there are some discrepancies?
What we usually... these are actually not discrepancies because we usually have a validation session with all these institutions before we bring our report back. So it's a factual information that we have in our report. So what we do is that we meet Parliament. We distribute our report to the media and to institutions, identifiable institutions across the country. We have town hall meetings to inform Ghanaians what their petroleum revenues have been managed, how they've been managed so far. So we are going to go on this, and then very soon we will send out another letters out for the publication of our 2018 annual report.
Many thanks for your time. Mark Ajimai is the technical director at the Public Interest Accountability Committee. We'll be shedding some more light on the 2018 half-year report of the committee, which has been released by PIAC.